The lesson from Ecclesiastes is a beautiful passage on the inevitability of change. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. Those of us in the baby boomer generation remember the folk rock band The Byrds using the passage in their hit song, Turn, Turn, Turn. It is true that the world unfolds according to those sorts of rhythms. A time to be born and a time to die is the way it happens. What this passage does not talk about is how painful change can be. I have spoken to you about the Reverend Dr. Shelley Stackhouse. She was the brilliant young pastor, preacher, who brought me in, a spiritual wanderer, into the church. She was the first real pastor I ever had, and she inspired my Christian faith. I remember vividly the Sunday worship service in which she announced that she would be leaving UCC Norwell. I immediately went into a funk. I was in pain at the thought of losing my beloved pastor. I even had some anger. And I was feeling bad for myself when I walked into the fellowship hall, and there was a woman that I knew but was not friends with at the time, with her hands on her hips. I walked up to her and said how awful it was that Pastor Shelley was leaving. The woman said to me, "Get over it." This jarred me. She pointed out that there are other great pastors and preachers out there, and Pastor Shelley, no doubt, had good reasons for moving on. It turned out to be true. The pastor who replaced Shelley was a world-class preacher who's also since moved on from UCC Norwell to be replaced by maybe the best of the lot. The woman who told me to get over it, you have met, by the way. She is here. Her name is Meg Clapp, my wife. Meg understood the passage from Ecclesiastes. She knew that change is inevitable. Yes, it can be painful, but the best of each of us can do is accept change and remember that the future is and can still be bright. As you no doubt are aware, today is my last day at Union Church. Although I'm excited about the next chapters in my life, this is and will continue to be painful for Meg and me. I look back at the 5 years with some pride and satisfaction. Stephen ministry and open and affirming are headlines. But honestly, I think of the smaller, quieter moments. I think of before I started, driving with Howard Martin to a nursing home to have communion with Peg Sproul, not knowing it was the last week of her life. I think of two of you here and the powerful moments of ministry that I had with you when you learned that your adult child had died. I think of the Bible study and all the digressions. That's an inside joke for the Bible study group. I think of the intensity of some moments with family when key church members were intensely ill or in surgery. I think of the not-so-private but extraordinary moment when I was a candidate here that is still spoken of today. I think of the relationships that have been built. The person I have grown the closest to is not here. Jamie Reardon is in hospice care. She had cancer before I started here and has been fighting it over the last 5 years. I think of Al and Molly Siri and the loving relationships that we still have with them. One person I must single out is your head trustee, Dick Leeson. Dick has cared for us so much around living in the parsonage. I'll tell you this, without Dick, Meg and I would have had a very different life here. Dick is now a texting buddy during ball games. He's a good man and a good friend. I'll let you in on a little secret that has been happening while you rise and get ready to come to church on Sunday mornings. I arrive at 7 a.m., get the lights on, see if there's heat, and do a final run-through of the service and the sermon. Parnell arrives at 8. We have our visit time. We laugh, share ideas on everything from marriage to politics. We've become good friends, and I'll miss her terribly. I'll say this to you, she is not only a gifted musician and leader, she's one of the most giving individuals I have ever known. Rarely a day goes by when she isn't carting someone around to a doc appointment or visiting with them. Of course, there is Laurie Mitchison. Our days working together in the office have always started with a visit. I've listened to the trials and tribulations and the joys of raising a family. You don't need me to tell you what a great job she and Jamie are doing with these kids. You see the evidence when you spend time with the kids. But don't think for a minute that parenting is easy. My only frustration with Laurie is when the topic turns to food. Another inside joke. I'll miss our time together. I could go on, but we have a luncheon and a Pats game. The Pats game starts at 1. I believe that the future is bright for you. I think that you will benefit from new pastoral leadership. I am sorry for what I have said and done is not what you have needed from your pastor. I am sorry for what I have left undone. I am sorry that my departure from here is difficult and painful for some of you. Mostly, what I've tried to do in my 5 years with you is to bring the good news of Jesus Christ to you. I have tried to bring his message of love, compassion, forgiveness, and reconciliation to you. So it is not just a message for Sunday morning, but it is a message for every day we live. In whatever ways that has been accomplished, I thank God. In whatever ways it has not been accomplished, I am sorry for where I have failed. I have tried to be the best pastor that I'm capable of being for Union Church. I have loved each and every one of you, even the ones who I have found difficult to love. I have not done this because I'm a nice person or because you are. I have done this because that is what Christ calls us to do. He doesn't call us to love just the people that are easy to love. He calls us to love the ones who make it hard. So many of you have made it so easy for me to love you. There are people in this church who have touched my heart in ways that will stay with me to my last breath. As you know, there is a luncheon planned for after worship today. I understand that the idea is to give you folks a chance to tell Meg and me how we have maybe touched your lives. I expect there will be nice things said to us. If you'd like to say things that are not nice to us, at this point, we don't want to hear it. So this is a time of reflection on how you have been positively impacted by others. We watched a documentary a few weeks ago called Won't You Be My Neighbor? It's the story of the life, work, and ministry of Fred Rogers. His TV show for children, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, was an extraordinary accomplishment. He was a good and great man. He gave many college commencement addresses in his later years, addressing graduates who had watched his show as little children. He said something to them that I'd like to say to you as you reflect on Meg and my time with you. I'd like you to think way beyond Meg and me. Mr. Rogers said to the graduates, I'd like you to think about the person or people who most positively impacted your life. Think about your whole life. Think about who smiled you into smiling, who laughed you into laughing, who talked you into talking, who thought you into thinking, who believed you into believing. He gave them 20 seconds to think about who that might be. And I'll give you 20 seconds as well. I'll watch the time. Thank you for allowing me to pastor to you. I pray that I have been able to bring Christ to you in ways that you are best able to receive him. On my last day here, I leave with peace in my soul and love in my heart. May the peace and love of Christ be with you always. Amen.